Okay, so the first thing we're going to tackle is the use of Camera Raw. And Camera Raw is a feature that you have on a lot of DSLRs and even on some smartphones. And the idea is that when I shoot in Camera Raw, I'm creating a very large file. It's often referred to as a digital negative. So it's a large file that has a lot of content that can be more accessible and editable than a regular, say, JPEG. So when I take a photo and I save it as a JPEG, I'm squashing or I'm losing an incredible amount of data. And when I save it as a Camera Raw file, there's a lot more data that's available to the image, inside the image. So I have a greater ability to control the white balance, the exposure, the lights, the darks, the luminosity, the color inside of the image if I export my image as a Camera Raw. So the format itself can differ from camera to camera, but if you have a DSLR and even some smartphones, you can look into your device, might have to go into the manual to find it, you can find where the settings are for the format that you're exporting your images to, and you can set it to Camera Raw. Some cameras will actually allow you to export a JPEG and Camera Raw simultaneously. And the idea is that once I export that Camera Raw format, I can import that into Photoshop's Camera Raw feature. So the Camera Raw feature is actually a separate environment from Photoshop. So now I have two ways to edit my image. I can jump into Camera Raw and make edits, and I can jump into Photoshop and make edits. And there are some things that Camera Raw do really well that are more difficult to do in Photoshop and vice versa. But now I've got these two environments that I can use to fix my image. Now I can also import and fix JPEGs in the Camera Raw utility as well, right? So the cool thing is I can export my image back out from Camera Raw in a number of formats. I can export it as a Photoshop document, a TIFF. I can also use a format called DNG, which is Adobe's generic format for Camera Raw called a digital negative. And the idea is that lots of different cameras shoot Camera Raw formats, and they all have their own extension. The problem is that sometimes those extensions change. They can even change or be different from the same model of camera, from same type of camera from model to model. So what Adobe came up with was something called the DNG, which is a generic digital negative format, which is the industry standard. So the digital negative accepts over 150 raw formats and is becoming the industry standard for raw images. And what we're going to do in this class is I have a number of DNG images that you'll download to work with as we do the exercises, right? Now, that's pretty much it for now. Let's go ahead and get started.